Hey guys, Game Ross here. Today I'm going to talk about my budget build Soulwrest Guardian. Before I begin, I just want to say that I think this is a really good league starter because the total cost that I used on this build is probably not even over 2 divines. Honestly, this was not my first build in this league, but I played this character like a league start throughout the campaign just because I want to know if it's easy to level this build as a league starter, and I have to say, playing a minion build is very smooth and easy. I will probably make a video guide about how I easily played the campaign with this build. And I really love how tanky this build is with just very cheap gears, which is really good for bad PoE players like me. The gears that I'm wearing right now is not the best, but obviously if you spend a little bit more currency, this build can get very tanky and even much more DPS. After showing you this gameplay, we will begin the guide. First, I'm going to talk about the unique gears. First of all is this unique staff, which is what this build is all about, Soulwrest. It says here that it triggers level 20 summon phantasm when you consume a corpse. One of the ways you can consume a corpse is by using an offering spell, and in my case I'm using Flesh Offering. Summon phantasm are minions that follows you around and attack enemies with a piercing projectile spell that deals physical damage. Using this staff alone will give you a maximum number of 10 phantasms, but if you use the Summon Phantasm support gem on the staff, you can increase it to 20 phantasms. What makes this staff so great as a league start is that you don't even need to 6-link the staff. All the support gems that you put in the staff will affect the phantasms, even they are not linked. I also like the 5% life regeneration that it gives you and your minions because this really helps making your support minions tankier. This staff also says that it gives your minions additional flat physical damage, so make sure to get a high roll of this when buying the staff. Another unique item that I'm using is this Profane Proxy. It says here that if you put this on your left ring slot, your Skitterbot's Chill Aura will be replaced by the Socketed Hex Gem instead. Same thing when you put it on your right ring slot, but instead of replacing the Chill Aura, it will replace the Shock Aura of the Skitterbots. Make sure to put this ring on your left ring slot because the Shock Aura of the Skitterbots is the one that boosts your minions' damage. Another unique item on this build is the Triad Grip Mesh Gloves, which converts your minion's physical damage to elemental or chaos damage depending on the colors of the sockets on the gloves. I'm converting all of my minion's physical damage to lightning damage because I think it gives my minion the highest DPS. If you have a little bit of extra currency, you can get a corrupted gloves that gives 6% increased maximum life. Lastly, the most expensive unique on this build is this Darkness Enthroned Stygian Vice. Getting a high roll of increased effect of socketed abyss jewels is what will make this belt expensive, but really worth it because one of the things that really boost the damage of your minions are the abyss jewels, so I would advise to put your 2 best abyss jewels on this belt. Those are the unique items on this build. Now let's talk about the rare gears. First, I'm going to talk about the headgear. Fitting all of your auras is going to be very tight, so we are going to need some mana reservation efficiency on out helmet. First thing to do is buy a helmet that has 11 or 12% fractured spell suppress chance. And then, buy some Screaming or Shrieking Essence of Loathing. Use these on your helmet until you get a good roll of flat life and an empty suffix so you can craft elemental and chaos resist. Lastly, you can use Eldritch Ichor and Ember on your helmet to get more mana reservation efficiency and elemental weakness effectiveness. Next, the boots. Buy a pair of boots that has 11 or 12% fractured spell suppress chance. Then, I'll reforge chaos spam the boots on the horticrafting station until you get a good roll of 2 resists and life. I would make sure that it will have an open prefix so you can craft movement speed with 100% chill avoidance. This will make your gameplay so much comfortable. You can also use Eldritch Ichor and Ember on your boots to get some beneficial implicits. I'm using Elemental Avoidance and increased buff effect of Carrion Golem. Next, the body armor. Just buy a body armor with a high roll of armor and evasion with additional curse mod. Getting a high roll of armor and evasion will really boost your tankiness. It's only optional to get additional physical damage reduction on your body armor because this will make the items much more expensive, but this mod would be really good to have. Some resists on your armor is going to be really helpful for you to reach your max resistances. I would highly prefer to have no life mods my body armor because I would really want to use the life mastery that gives 15% increased maximum life if your body armor has no life mods. And buying a body armor with all of these mods and then a high roll of flat life would make the item much more expensive. For the amulet, I would buy a Citron amulet with a fractured tier 1 dexterity. Then, I'll reforge chaos spam the amulet on the horticrafting station until you get a good roll of 2 resists and then craft life or a good roll of 1 resist and flat life and then craft elemental and chaos resists. For the anointment, I'm using Mark the Prey, so the enemy will have reduced accuracy and will take increased damage. For this you will need sea pie oil, indigo oil and black oil. Lastly, for the ring, I would buy an Amethyst ring with fracture flat life. Reforge chaos spam the ring as well on the horticrafting station until you get a good roll of 2 resists and a good amount of chaos resist and then craft less mana cost on non-channeling skills. For the gems, first I'm going to talk about the support gems on your Soulwrest staff. Again, you don't need to link all the sockets on your staff. All the support gems socketed on this staff will still affect your phantasms. First, get a level 21 Summon Phantasm support gem because this will give you 11 additional phantasms. With this support gem and Soulwrest, you will have a total of 21 phantasms. For damage, use Minion Damage, Elemental Focus, Controlled Destruction, Predator and Hypothermia. Your support minions will still be able to apply chill on the enemies, so Hypothermia will still boost the damage of your phantasms. For map clearing, switch Hypothermia with lesser multiple projectile. Since Soulwrest is very cheap, I bought a second one. The first one has support gems for single target, and the second staff has support gems for map clearing. I just press X to switch weapons. On my body armor, you need to 5-link the sockets. This is where you will put Cyclone with cast while channeling, Desecrate, Flesh Offering and Infused Channeling. Infused channeling is just optional, but this 10% less damage taken while channeling will definitely boost your defense. For the auras, I'm using Determination for additional physical defense, and for the damage I'm using Haste and Vol Haste, Zealotry and Skitterbots. Frost Blink as my travel skill, Molten Shell for additional defense, Sniper's Mark for additional damage, Convocation for additional life regeneration for your minions, and on my ring, I'm using Elemental Weakness. First, I want to mention that thanks to Convocation, which gives your minion 2% life regenerations, Soulwrest's 5% life regenerations for your minions if you consume a corpse recently, and Minion Defense Mastery that recover 5% of your minion's life on minion's death are the ones that will keep your support minions alive. I'm using Summon Carrion Golem for additional physical damage on your phantasms. Next, Raise Spectre. You will need a 20% quality on this gem, so your specters will have 50% elemental resistances. And thanks to Elemental Army support with 20% quality, they will reach 79% elemental resistance. Also, thanks to Elemental Army, your specters and golem will be able to inflict elemental exposure, reducing the elemental resistance of the enemies they hit. Also, whenever they hit an enemy, they will also have a chance to grant you a Feeding Frenzy buff, which boosts your minions' damage thanks to this Feeding Frenzy support gem. The specters that I'm using are Perfect Forest Warrior and Perfect Blasphemer. Perfect Forest Warrior gives you and your minions Onslaught, and Perfect Blasphemer has the ability to use Smite skill, which grants an aura that gives your minions additional lightning damage. Another support minion you will be using is Animate Guardian. First, I'm going to talk about its defenses. Animate Guardian already has 40% elemental resistance and 20% chaos resistance, so all it needs on its gears are 35% elemental resistance and 55% chaos resistance. For the body armor, I'm using Belly of the Beast. I like this body armor because it's very cheap, it gives lots of health and good amount of elemental resistance. You will be using rare gloves and look for high roll of life, 125% elemental resistance, 125% chaos resistance, and an empty suffix so you can craft 15% elemental and chaos resist. You will also be using a rare helmet and look for high roll of life, 125% elemental resistance, and an empty suffix so you can craft 15% elemental and chaos resist. With all these, your Animate Guardian should have 75% to all resistances. To boost your minions' damage, get a helmet with nearby enemies take increased elemental damage. And for the boots, use Legacy of Fury with a high roll of increased effect of Scorch. This boots will scorch nearby enemies, which lowers their elemental resistances. And lastly is this Dying Breath, Iron Staff, which gives your minions increased damage, and nearby enemies will take increased effect from curses. For the flasks, I'm using Taste of Hate, Granite, and either Jade or Quartz Flask. For Taste of Hate, get a high roll of fire and lightning damage from hits taken as cold damage. For Jade or Quartz Flasks, if you're going to buy them, then I would highly recommend getting Increased Armor mod on them, because if you buy this mod on Granite Flask, it will be very expensive. For the Granite Flask, get at least 50% reduced curse effect. I will tell you later how to get the rest of the 50%. I'm using 2 life flasks because this build has a terrible defense against damage over time. For the Abyss Jewels, the full damage mods would be increased minion damage if you used a minion skill recently, increased minion cast speed, and minion deals flat elemental or physical damage. On your belt, use Abyss Jewel with Tier 1 Ignite and Shock Avoidance. With these and your elemental avoidance on your boots, you will be able to reach 100%. Remember that you can use the Abyss Jewels to help you reach max resistances and attribute requirements. For the Cluster Jewels, remember that they can also help you reach your max resistances and attribute requirements, which you can get from the small passives. For the Large Cluster Jewel, to save skill points, get one with only 8 passive skills. And then look for Call to the Slaughter, Raise, and Pillage, and Renewal. It's better if you can get all 3, but 2 of them would be good enough. For the medium cluster jewel, to save skill points, get one with only 4 passive skills. Get the Blessed Rebirth because this will make your phantasm immortal for 4 seconds after they were summoned. This is very important because your phantasm are not very tanky and this will make them last longer on the field. For the small cluster jewels, you will need 2 of them with 3 passive skills. For the first jewel, look for Uncompromising and the second jewel look for Frantic Aspect. These 2 cluster jewels will really help you fit all of your auras. Now, let's talk about the skill tree. This Enduring Bond will make your phantasm last longer. And just grab those minion damage nodes and this minion offensive masteries. This sacrifice node and this minion defensive mastery, which will give your minion 5% life regeneration on minion death, will help your support minion so much tankier. Like I said earlier, Abyss Jewels will really boost your minion's damage, so don't forget to get those jewel slots. You will be using block and spell block as your defense, so get these nodes here to help you reach their max. This staff mastery will help boost your armor and evasion rating. Also get these mana reservation efficiency nodes and this mana mastery. Lastly, you can either get this node for additional elemental resistance or this node here for additional chaos resistance depending on which resistance you are lacking. The reason for taking either of these nodes is because you need at least 20% reduced effective curses on you from your skill tree, and later I will tell you how you can finally reach 100%. Also, in Act 2, I killed all bandit lords for 2 additional skill points. First, I'm using Radiant Crusade, which allow me to summon a sentinel, and 20% hit damage that I will receive will be transferred to the sentinel. Basically, it's kinda like having 20 Fortify, but you constantly need to resummon it because it only lasts for 20 seconds. Next, I'm using Unwavering Crusade, which allows you and your minion to have a chance to summon elemental relics when you and your minions kill an enemy or hit a rare or unique enemy. There are 3 types of elemental relics that can be summoned. One elemental relic has Anger Aura, which gives nearby allies additional fire damage to attacks and spells. Another elemental relic has Hatred Aura, which gives nearby allies 29% of physical damage as extra cold damage. And another elemental relic has Wrath Aura, which gives nearby allies additional lightning damage to attacks and 23% more spell lightning damage. Next, I'm using Bastion of Hope, which gives you and your minions 25% block chance if you've attacked recently, and it also gives you and your minions 25% spell block chance if you've cast a spell recently. Lastly, I'm using Time of Need. Every 4 seconds, this ascendancy will remove curses and elemental ailments and heal you in full life in 1 second. Honestly, I don't really find this helpful very much, especially when I'm running cursed maps and maps that has elemental ailment grounds. The only thing that I find helpful is the full health heal every 4 seconds. For the Pantheons, I'm using Soul of the Brine King for the 2-second stun immunity and 100% freeze avoidance, and Soul of Yugel so I can reach 100% reduced effect of curse. You will be holding press key your Molten Shell and Convocation. And since you will be casting Convocation every 3 seconds, you will always have the buff 25% spell block chance from Bastion of Hope. You will also be using Cyclone to automatically casting Desecrate and Flesh Offering. Using Cyclone will activate the buff 25% block chance from Bastion of Hope, but stop using Cyclone every 3 seconds so you can reactivate the buff. I put Summon Sentinel on left click, so I just press left click and shift to resummon it. That's it for this video. If you guys like this video, I would really much appreciate a like and your subscription to my channel. If you have any questions, just leave them at the comment section and I will try my best to answer them. I also stream on Twitch, so you can go there and ask your questions live. Thank you guys for watching and see you on the next video.